Minor claims her son came home with a damaged cell phone after he went to the water park with friends. Alice Lighthouse says the boy hid his phone instead of giving it to her for safekeeping like the other kids did.
Ms. Minor, why are we in court today?
So Alice and I met a little over a year ago, and we started building a friendship. And then one day she took my son to a water park, and while they were there, her son grabbed my son's cell phone and dropped it. It cracked the screen and it was water damaged. And so I didn't know it had happened right when it happened. I found out a little bit after. But once I found out, I immediately reached out to Alice to let her know that she was responsible because she was in care of my son at the time, and her son damaged my son's phone by yanking it out of his hand, and I asked her to pay for the damaged phone.
Okay, and what did she say when you asked her? You're saying the phone damages were worth $319.88?
Well, the phone was completely damaged. So the screen was cracked.
Right.
I tried to repair it. The water damage by putting it in rice. I always hear that's like a thing to do.
Correct.
So I tried that for a few hours. That didn't work. My son, I don't like to have my son go anywhere without his cell phone. I'm just nervous. I'm kind of like that helicopter mom. And so I don't like him going anywhere without a cell phone.
Okay.
And so once I found out it was damaged and couldn't be repaired, I had to immediately get him a new phone. But instead of buying a new phone, like an expensive phone, I just went and got a refurbished phone, which was the cheapest thing I could find.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to ruin our friendship with this situation. And so I tried to be as reasonable as possible. And that's why the price is what it is. It's for a refurbished phone, which was the $319.88.
Okay. Ms. Minor, are you and the defendant friends today?
We are not currently friends since this interaction, which is unfortunate. We have not spoken since this incident happened. We had some text exchanges that day, and then I tried to reach her before I texted her. She didn't respond. And then I was able to get her on the phone to speak to her about this, but that's the last I've heard from her.
Okay. Do you have any evidence, ma'am, of the text messages so the court can see the communication?
Unfortunately, I don't. I usually delete my messages just to save space on my phone.
Okay. Let me get to you, Ms. Lighthouse. What do you have to tell the court today?
Sorry, Your Honor. There's some really important facts that have been left out. I had her daughter and her son, and my daughter and my son, 4 children, at a water park. I was watching them very diligently. The very first thing I had them do is put all valuables in a locker, at which time her son defiantly didn't tell me, but kept it and put it in his towel. Didn't tell me about that at all. We went to the lockers. We put what I thought everything is. The kids seemed to only have their towels and their goggles. I was assisting the little girls because they were having a hard time.
How old were the little girls?
They're 8. And
okay, so 8, and then the boys are 10, 11. Okay.
And the boys were standing by themselves. I didn't see any harm or danger. They were just talking to each other, laughing, being silly.
Having fun. It's
yeah,
a water
and
park,
I'm
for God's
helping
sakes.
them get their goggles on.
Yeah.
And apparently during that time, he took it out of the water case that his mom had put it in and was doing a game, and my son took it away from him, and it slipped and fell. And I guess neither of the boys wanted to tell her, so now she doesn't know. I never even knew he had a phone.
So did you know, Miss Lighthouse, that the phone was damaged at the water park?
No.
So you had no idea?
I didn't even know there was a phone.
So when did you become aware that there was a phone and that it was irrevocably damaged?
When she aggressively started texting me at night and being super rude, telling me that I owe her money and that my son broke her phone and all this other stuff. She didn't even bother to ask me like what the story was or my side. She just, I have the text.
So you have the text?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and proffer that, ma'am, to my bailiff so we can see. Give him all of the evidence, ma'am, the whole folder.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's see here. This is from you, Miss Minor. Hi, Alice. I was told by my son that your son dropped and damaged his phone at the water park. And you say, I didn't know that he had a phone and all the kids' personal items should have been in a locker at the park. Miss Minor says, well, as of now, my son's phone is damaged and you need to pay because you should have been watching them. You then say, defendant, no, it's your son's fault because he disobeyed my direct request, which was to put all personal items in the locker. Okay. Ladies, I'm going to hear from the young men at this point in time. They were actually there. Mr. Timothy, go ahead and approach, stand beside your mom, please, dear sir. The court appreciates your attire today. You look very nice. Thank you. Okay. He's sworn in, Mr. Bailiff?
He is sworn in.
Okay, excellent. So, Mr. Timothy, talk to the court about why, when you went to the water park under Miss Lighthouse's care, when she said to you, girls and boys, put all your devices in this little safe haven to keep safe, why didn't you do that?
Coming up on Equal Justice.
She also knows that
Never
I'm
with
an
water.
overprotective parent who worries about their child. And this was the first time that my child was going with her alone.
Let me ask you a
And-
direct question, Ms. Minor. Do you trust this woman? Did you trust this?
Equal Justice is back with a case of Chelsea Minor, who blames her former friend, Alice Lighthouse, for her son's broken cell phone.
I didn't really want to because I was told by my mom to have it on my person at all times. And I had never gone with her anywhere alone before.
Right.
So I wanted my mom and me to both feel safe by allowing me to hold my phone and have it on my person at all times so I can reach out to her if anything went wrong.
Per your mother's instruction. Okay, the court understands that. How about you, Mr. Eric? Go ahead and approach and stand beside your mother, sir. Thank you. Okay, he's also been sworn?
Yes, Your Honor.
Excellent. Okay, Mr. Eric, now tell the court at what time, and you two were friends, right? You and
Yes.
Mr. Timothy here. At what point you and your friend are at the water park, you guys are having fun, you put your phone away, right? When
Yes.
your mom asked you to.
Yes.
And then you notice your friend here, Timothy, still has his phone, and he's playing a game, and then when did you decide to touch the phone?
So we had just gotten to the wave pool, and I wanted to try the game because he was looking at it. So I grabbed the phone, I started tapping it and stuff like that. And then it slipped out of my hands, face first onto the ground, and also got some water on it and damaged it.
Got it. Okay, I was told that somebody has the phone in court today.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead and proffer that to my bailiff, ma'am, so the court can examine the damage. Thank you, sir. Okay, yeah, I see. Cracked screen. Oh wow, this is totally busted here. This is destroyed, right? So this has no value, no worth. I assume, Ms. Minor, you couldn't get any return value for this.
No, I mean, had it just been the cracked screen,
But the water
we would have
damage.
gone on, but the water damage made it so that it's useless.
It's worthless.
It can't be
it's
turned
literally,
into anything.
and, you know, from legalese, it's worthless, has zero
Yes.
value. Okay. All right, so you guys are playing, and it gets the water damage. Now, this is important, Mr. Eric here. How did you and your friend Timothy decide to hide it, right? Because you guys decided it's best not to tell mom here.
Yeah, because we knew we would both get in trouble.
Right. And
And-
why is that? Because your mom had told you guys to put the phones away early?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And I was covering for him.
Ah, I see. Because you did what your mom said and you put your phone away. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Eric. You can have a seat. Mr. Timothy, thank you for your testimony. You can have a seat as well. So I'm going to get back to the moms here. So, Miss Lighthouse, the first you're hearing of a phone mishap is when your then friend aggressively contacts you saying she owes money, that you owe her money.
Yes,
And
correct.
what was your response to that?
I was taken back. First of all, I didn't even know about it, and I felt like if it was such an important thing to her, why didn't she tell the adult in charge that there was a phone?
I think that's a worthwhile question. Ms. Minor, why didn't you think to inform the caretaker of your child, hey, listen, I know they're going to a water park. It's going to be, you know, risky when it comes to expensive things, but our policy in our home is to keep a way of contacting one another.
I didn't feel like it was necessary to say that because it seems very obvious in this time of day that kids have cell phones all the time. They have their cell phone with them all the time. We've gotten together many times at the park, at different events, and our kids both have their phones with them all the time. She also knows that
Never
I'm
with
an
water.
overprotective parent who worries about their child.
Right.
And this was the first time that my child was going with her alone.
Let me ask you a
And
direct question, Ms. Minor. Do you trust this woman? Did you trust this woman?
when I've interacted with her in the past at the park and different activities, she'll let her kids run off. She won't keep a good eye on them. So I was very nervous because I'm very protective of my child. Even though we've built a relationship, I mean, even this goes to show she wasn't really paying attention.
Well, so she was. You were.
She didn't
testing
even.
it.
She's saying she didn't know he had a phone, so she's supposed to be
'Cause he
watching my
hid it in
kid
a
all
towel.
day.
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
but they were standing there with it.
Okay, ladies, I will get a determination around who's right and wrong here. I'm still collecting facts.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Minor.
She's standing. If my son and her son are standing there playing with a phone, how can she say she didn't see it or know the whole day? That
Well,
means she wasn't watching them.
No, come on, Ms.
They're
Minor.
at a water park.
Ms. Minor. I'll handle this, Ms. Lighthouse. Ms. Minor, in fairness, your son is 10 years old, so you know how children are. So you can't expect this court to reasonably believe, ma'am, that never in all of these 10 plus years you've had children and you and your family, that you have your eyes on them 24/7, right? Children sometimes get into things, right, Ms. Minor?
That might be true, but if I was with her children, I would have had my eyes on them the whole time
would have
because
had your
I'm a
eyes glued
single
on
parent.
them
And she is a
24/7.
single parent, and
And
she
left
knows
the daughters
that
alone.
we are watching. No, I wouldn't have let the daughters alone. I would have had them all go together. If I'm going to take
They were
responsibility
getting
of 4
in the
children,
pool.
I'm going to make sure I have my eye on all 4 children around water.
I
Of course,
saw
I'm going to
all
be
4
prepared.
Okay, ladies. Okay, I can tell there's no love lost here in this friendship. That's for sure.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
You said you bought her kids food all day?
Yeah.
So she sent her children, or her, yeah,
No,
her children.
You did not send
Miss
any
Minor,
money.
she sent her kids with you all day with no cash?
No cash. They had nothing.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a case of Chelsea Minor, who blames her former friend, Alice Lighthouse, for her son's broken cell phone.
I think I've heard enough, but I do want to give you an opportunity, Miss Lighthouse, to give a closing statement to the court
Okay.
as to why hear me out. You've got to tell me why you don't feel at all responsible for the $319.88 refurbished phone due to her son's phone being damaged while in your care.
I think it's 2-part. One, it's the audacity that she has to come at me when I was doing a favor for her. I bought her kids food all day. I watched her kids very attentively. They were never more than 5 feet out of my sight. Kids tucking a phone in a cell and hiding
I'm so sorry,
it.
Miss Lighthouse. I have to stop you. You said you bought her kids food all day?
Yeah.
So she sent her children, or her, yeah, her
No,
children.
You do not send
Miss
any
Minor,
money.
she sent her kids with you all day with no cash?
No cash. They had nothing.
Miss Minor, what do you say to that?
I said that's a flat out lie. I
Okay.
sent
So
my
you-
son with money, and he also has Apple Pay on his
Maybe
phone.
he was hiding that too.
So he has access to money at all times. That's
Okay.
part of having the phone
Can I
on
say
him.
one more thing?
One final thing and make it quick, ma'am.
I just feel like if a responsible adult would have told me that there was a phone, I could have been responsible for a phone. Without knowing that there was a phone there, I can't be responsible for what I don't know. And as a parent, as another parent, any parents I deal with, they communicate with each other and not this like secret. I don't care. Spy on me. Say you do you want to be able to call them? I don't care. Just let me know that you have an expensive phone that you want me to be responsible for. Secondly, it's not about the phone. It's about the attack and about the fact that she's acting like I wasn't watching her child when he was like 8 feet away from me just because he turned and had a phone inside of a towel. I don't know what he's doing with the phone inside the towel, why I'm helping her put her goggles on.
The daughters. Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right.
it's in
I got you,
direct,
Miss
a
Lighthouse.
direct character
Oh,
assassination.
all right, Miss Lighthouse. Let's not be too dramatic.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Now, I don't have to tell the adults in this room what happens when you make an assumption. You make an ASS out of you and me.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a case of Chelsea Minor, who blames her former friend, Alice Lighthouse, for her son's broken cell phone.
Can I say one thing?
Final word, Miss Minor.
Okay. The main issue is that her son ripped it from my son's hands and damaged it. Flat out.
I would have paid for half if you had trusted me and told me.
She said that she was watching them but didn't know about the phone. She's saying it's irresponsible to not tell about the phone. I assumed everybody knows that children now have phones with them all the time. That's not, I have to disclose every item that my
Not at
son
a
is
water
bringing
park.
to a park.
Okay.
And her son he said himself that he ripped it from his hand and he's the one that dropped it.
Okay. Miss Minor, I appreciate your final thoughts. The court is ready to rule on this matter. So you actually said 2 really important words in your testimony today, Miss Minor. The first is I made an assumption. Now, I don't have to tell the adults in this room what happens when you make an assumption. You make an ASS out of you and me. So when you tell this court, everybody knows, I assumed that this other adult would have known that all kids have cell phones these days. I'm here to tell you, breaking news, Ms. Minor, all kids do not have cell phones these days. Now, that is your choice to provide your child with such a thing, but that is not a duty that this woman would have to assume that. So I would say, and that's the key term I want to really reiterate in this case that's very important, ladies and young gentlemen, duty of care. My job in this case, ma'am, is to figure out what was this lady's duty of care to your son. And her duty of care was to keep him safe. I see that she has done that.
Judge Eboni's verdict when Equal Justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
Now, as it relates to his property, by you not letting her know to be on the lookout for cell phone activity, you crippled her ability to exercise a proper duty of care for the property of the young man, okay? Now, hopefully you see that, and if not, it's something for you to think about. Now, Ms. Lighthouse, I do want to address the fact that your son touched this young man's property. Had he not been engaged in any way with this young man's phone, it would not have sustained the damage. So I see a mutual breach of duty by both of you mothers. These young men were just boys being boys, kids being kids. I'm not going to put any blame on them, but this is a breach of your duty, ma'am, to keep your son's hands to himself, and this is a breach of your duty, ma'am, to inform the co-adult here in the situation of all that she needed to be protecting. So this court is actually going to split equally the demand from the plaintiff, but only for half of her demand. That's my ruling.
Thank you.
All rise.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $159.94.
The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with a mixture of tension and the quiet dignity of the law. Behind the elevated bench sat a woman whose presence commanded immediate respect. To any observer, the nameplate in front of her was more than just a piece of engraved plastic. It read Judge Eboni K. Williams. She looked out at the people gathered before her and spoke with a voice that carried the warmth of the South and the sharp clarity of the North. She reminded everyone that in this particular space, the only thing that truly mattered was how she viewed the facts. She described herself as a person from North Carolina by way of Louisiana, possessing a touch of West Coast cool and a sharp New York edge. She looked at the woman standing to her left and asked if there was a problem. The woman, Alice Lighthouse, shook her head and replied that she did not have a problem, Your Honor. The judge then reflected on the core values of the country. She spoke about equal justice, freedom, and integrity. These were the ideals she strove for every single day. She looked at Alice and reminded her that while Alice ran her own household, the man across from her got to run his. The judge shared that she had decided to become an attorney to pursue the law because she wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. However, she also made it clear that this court could not hold someone accountable without clear justification. This courtroom was a place for everyone, regardless of their background, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer. That was the essence of equal justice. The case before her involved two women who were once friends. Chelsea Minor had brought a claim against Alice Lighthouse. Chelsea claimed that her son had come home with a damaged cell phone after a trip to a water park with friends. On the other side, Alice Lighthouse argued that the boy had hidden his phone instead of giving it to her for safekeeping, as the other children had done. Judge Williams turned her attention to the plaintiff and asked why they were in court today. Chelsea Minor began her story by explaining that she and Alice had met a little over a year ago. They had started building what she thought was a solid friendship. One day, Alice took Chelsea's son to a water park. Chelsea alleged that while they were there, Alice's son grabbed her son's cell phone and dropped it. The incident resulted in a cracked screen and severe water damage. Chelsea explained that she did not find out about the incident immediately. Once she realized what had happened, she reached out to Alice to hold her responsible. In Chelsea's view, Alice was the one in care of her son at the time, and since Alice's son had yanked the phone out of her son's hand, Alice should pay for the damage. The judge asked what Alice had said when she was asked to pay. Chelsea noted that the total cost for the damages was $319.88. She explained that the phone was completely ruined. She had tried to repair the water damage by putting the device in a bowl of rice for a few hours, as she had heard that was a common remedy, but it did not work. Chelsea admitted to being an overprotective mother, a helicopter mom of sorts. She did not like her son going anywhere without a way to contact her. When she realized the phone could not be fixed, she went out and bought a refurbished phone because it was the most affordable option she could find. She insisted she was trying to be reasonable to save the friendship, which was why she was only asking for $319.88. When asked if they were still friends, Chelsea sadly admitted that they were not. They had not spoken since the incident. She mentioned there were some text exchanges on the day of the event, but Alice had not responded to her initial attempts to talk. Eventually, they spoke once on the phone, but that was the end of their communication. When the judge asked for evidence of these texts, Chelsea explained that she usually deleted her messages to save space on her phone and therefore had nothing to show the court. The judge then turned to Alice Lighthouse to hear her side of the story. Alice began by stating that some very important facts had been left out of Chelsea's account. Alice explained that she had 4 children with her at the water park that day, Chelsea's daughter and son, and her own daughter and son. She insisted she was watching them very diligently. The first thing she did upon arrival was instruct all the children to put their valuables in a locker. She believed everyone had complied. However, Chelsea's son had defiantly kept his phone and hidden it inside his towel without telling her. Alice described the scene at the lockers. The children seemed to have nothing but their towels and goggles. She was busy assisting the 2 8-year-old girls with their equipment while the 2 boys, who were 10 and 11 years old, stood nearby. The boys were laughing and being silly, and Alice saw no sign of danger. It was during this time, while Alice was distracted with the younger girls, that Chelsea's son took the phone out of its waterproof case to play a game. Alice's son then took the phone away from him, and it slipped, falling to the ground. Alice testified that she had no idea the phone even existed until Chelsea started sending her aggressive and rude text messages late at night, demanding money. Alice provided her phone to the court's bailiff so the judge could review the actual text messages. Judge Williams read the messages aloud. Chelsea had messaged Alice saying she was told by her son that Alice's son had dropped the phone. Alice had responded by saying she didn't even know he had a phone and that all items should have been in the locker. Chelsea's reply was that Alice should have been watching them and therefore was responsible for the payment. The judge decided it was time to hear from the children. She called Timothy, Chelsea's son, to the stand. She complimented the young man on his nice attire. Timothy had been sworn in and was ready to speak. The judge asked him why he didn't put his device in the locker when he was told to do so. Timothy explained that his mother had instructed him to keep the phone on his person at all times. Because he had never gone anywhere with Alice alone before, both he and his mother wanted to feel safe by ensuring he could reach her if anything happened. He was simply following his mother's instructions. Next, the judge called Eric, Alice's son, to the stand. Eric confirmed that he and Timothy were friends. He explained that he had put his own phone away as his mother asked. However, when they got to the wave pool, he saw Timothy playing a game on his phone. Eric admitted that he wanted to try the game, so he grabbed the phone. While he was tapping on the screen, the device slipped from his hands, fell face first onto the ground, and got wet. The physical evidence of the phone was then presented to the judge. She observed the cracked screen and noted that the device appeared to be totally busted and destroyed. Chelsea confirmed that the water damage had rendered the phone worthless. The judge then asked the boys why they chose to hide the incident. Eric admitted they were afraid of getting into trouble because they knew they had disobeyed the rules about putting the phones away. Timothy had also tried to cover for his friend. After the boys stepped down, the judge returned to the mothers. Alice expressed her frustration, asking why Chelsea hadn't told her, as the adult in charge, that there was a phone involved. Chelsea argued that it should have been obvious that a child would have a cell phone in this day and age. She added that she was nervous because she had seen Alice let her children run off without supervision in the past. Chelsea believed that if Alice had been paying attention, she would have seen the boys playing with the phone. The judge stepped in to provide some perspective. She reminded Chelsea that it was not reasonable to expect any parent to have their eyes on a 10-year-old child every single second of the day. Children often find ways to do things behind an adult's back. Alice then pointed out that she had even bought food for Chelsea's children all day because they had been sent without any cash. Chelsea disputed this, claiming she had sent her son with money and that he had access to electronic payments on his phone. In her closing statement, Alice emphasized that she could not be held responsible for an expensive item she didn't even know was there. She felt that as parents, they should have communicated better instead of keeping secrets. She felt the legal action was a direct character assassination against her. Judge Williams prepared to deliver her verdict. She looked at Chelsea and addressed the idea of assumptions. She told her that making an assumption often leads to a misunderstanding that reflects poorly on everyone involved. She corrected Chelsea's belief that everyone should know all kids have phones, stating that it is a parent's choice, not a universal rule. The judge focused on the concept of the duty of care. She explained that Alice's duty was to keep the child safe, which she had done. However, by failing to inform Alice about the phone, Chelsea had crippled Alice's ability to care for that specific piece of property. On the other hand, the judge addressed Alice, noting that her son had indeed touched someone else's property. Had he kept his hands to himself, the damage would not have occurred. The judge concluded that there was a mutual breach of duty. She refused to blame the young boys, as they were just being children. Instead, she placed the responsibility on both mothers for their lack of communication and supervision. The final ruling was that the demand for $319.88 would be split equally. Judge Williams ordered the defendant to pay $159.94. As the session ended, Alice remarked that she would have agreed to this compromise a long time ago if it had been offered, rather than being met with an assault on her character. The two women left the courtroom, having received a lesson in responsibility, communication, and the true meaning of equal justice. Titulo, el deber de la verdad y la justicia equitativa. Esta es la sala de audiencias de la jueza Eboni K. Williams. En este espacio, lo único que prevalece es la perspectiva de la ley aplicada con integridad. La jueza Williams, originaria de Carolina del Norte con raíces en Louisiana, combina la serenidad de la costa oeste con la firmeza característica de Nueva York. Su misión es clara, buscar la libertad, la integridad y ser la voz de quienes no la tienen, asegurando que la justicia sea igual para todos, sin importar su origen o identidad. En el caso de hoy, nos encontramos con dos antiguas amigas que han visto rota su relación por un incident material. Chelsea Minor demanda a Alice Lighthouse por la suma de $319 con 88 centavos, alegando que el teléfono celular de su hijo resultó dañado, mientras estaba bajo el cuidado de la demandada en un parque acuático. El inicio de la disputa. La jueza Williams comienza la sesión preguntando a la demandante el motivo de la disputa. Chelsea Minor relata que conoció a Alice hace poco más de un año y entablaron una amistad. Un día, Alice llevó al hijo de Chelsea a un parque acuático. Según la versión de Chelsea, el hijo de Alice tomó el teléfono de su hijo, lo de joker y esto provocó que la pantalla se rompiera y el dispositivo sufriera daños por agua. Chelsea afirma que, al enterarse de lo sucedido, contactó de inmediato a Alice para informar que ella era la responsable, ya que el niño estaba bajo su supervisión. La demandandi solicita el pago de $319 con 88 centavos, que es el costo de un teléfono reacondicionado que compró para reemplazar el donado. Chelsea menciona que intentó arreglar el dispositivo original poniéndolo en eras durante unas horas, pero el método no funcionó. Además, así describe a sí misma como una madre sobreprotectora que no permite que su hijo vaya a ningún lado sin un medio de comunicación. La versión de la defensa. Cuando liga el turno de Alice Lighthouse, la situación toma un matiz diferente. Alice expresa que así han omitido hechos fundamentals. Ella explica que ese día estaba a cargo de 4 niños, su hija, su hijo, y la hija y el hijo de Chelsea. Según su testimonio, Alice fue muy diligente y lo primero que hizo al llegar al parque fue pedirles a todos los niños que guardaran sus objetos de valor en un casillero. Alice sostiene que el hijo de Chelsea, de forma desafiante, no lo informó que tenía un teléfono y decidió esconderlo entre su toalla. Mientras Alice ayudaba a las niñas de 8 años con sus gafas de natación, los niños, de 10 y 11 años, estaban a un lado. Fue en ese momento, según supo después, cuando el hijo de Chelsea sacó el teléfono de su estuche protector para jugar, y el hijo de Alice intentó quitárselo, lo que provocó la queda. Alice afirma que no supo de la existencia del teléfono hasta que recibió mensajes agresivos de Chelsea esa noche exigiendo dinero. Los testimonios de los menores. La jueza Williams solicita la presencia de los jóvenes para esclarecer los hechos. El joven Timothy, hijo de Chelsea, se acerca al estrado. La jueza le pregunta por qué no obedeció la instrucción de guardar el teléfono en el casillero. Timothy responde que su madre le había dado instrucciones estrictas de llevar el teléfono consigo en todo momento para sentirse seguro y poder comunicarse con ella si ocurría algo, especialmente siendo la primera vez que salía solo con Alice. Posteriormente, el joven Eric, hijo de Alice, ofrece su testimonio. Eric admite que, mientras estaban en la piscina de olas, vio a Timothy llegando y quiso probar el juego. Al intentar tomar el teléfono, se le resbaló de las manos y cayó de frente al suelo, mojándose también en el preciso. Eric confiesa que ambos decidieron ocultar lo sucedido porque sabían que se meterían en problemas, ya que les había ordenado guardar los dispositivos electrónicos. La evaluación de la responsabilidad. Tras examinar el teléfono donado, el cual la jueza describe como totalmente destruido y sin valor alguno, se retoma el diálogo con las madres. Alice cuestiona por qué Chelsea no lo informó que el niño llevaba un objeto tan costoso si la política de su hogar era mantener el contacto constante. Chelsea responde que le parecía obvio que los niños hoy en día siempre llevan sus teléfonos y que Alicia sabía que ella era una madre protectora. La tensión aumenta cuando Alice menciona que ese día ella incluso pagó la comida de los hijos de Chelsea, ya que ellos no llevaban dinero en efectivo. Chelsea desmiente esto, afirmando que su hijo llevaba dinero y acceso a pagos electrónicos a través de su teléfono. Alice concluye su declaración diciendo que no puede ser responsable de algo que no sabía que existía. Argumenta que la falta de comunicación de Chelsea lo impidió cuidar adecuadamente del objeto. Además, se siente herida por lo que considera un asesinato de su carácter como madre responsable. El veredicto final. La jueza Williams analiza el caso basándose en el concepto de deber de cuidado. Se dirige a Chelsea y lo explica que cometió el error de asumir que todos los adultos saben que todos los niños tienen teléfonos, lo cual no es una verdad universal. Al no informar a la cuidadora sobre el dispositivo, Chelsea limitó la capacidad de Alice para ejercer un cuidado adecuado sobre esa propiedad. Sin embargo, la jueza también señala que Eric, el hijo de Alice, intervino directamente con la propiedad ajena. Si él no hubiera tocado el teléfono, el daño no habría ocurrido. Por lo tanto, la jueza identifica un incumplimiento mutuo del deber. Por un lado, Chelsea falló al no informar sobre el objeto valioso que debía ser protegido. Por otro lado, Alice falló en su deber de asegurar que su hijo no manipulara pertenencias ajenas. Considerando que los niños actuaron simplemente como niños, la jueza Williams decide que la responsabilidad debe ser compartida de manera equitativa. El veredicto final determina que la demandada, Alice Lighthouse, debe pagar a la demandante, Chelsea Minor, la mitad de la suma solicitada. La orden judicial establece el pago de $150 con 90 centavos. La jueza concluye la sesión enfatizando la importancia de la comunicación y la responsabilidad compartida, cerrando así un caso donde la justicia buscó el equilibrio entre la protección de la propiedad y la diligencia en el cuidado de los menores.